Hello and welcome to Unit 6 announcement. Now, in this particular week, you are working on a final project, and I have the final project directions listed here. And for the final project, you have been selected to develop a GUI application called a configurator. The application allows the user to complete the configuration of a computer system and produce a sales price for the system based on the configuration selected. The application must meet the minimum operating requirements and specifications as provided below. So operation user configure, and I'm not going to walk you through all these because I'm going at point in time. I'm very confident that everybody's literate and can go through this perfectly themselves. You have different specifications in mind there's all the different processors, and let's see, you've got different checkboxes involved. It talks about some hints, which is okay. And then you have required enhancements. Now, this is the part that I wanted to talk about. It says, copy of the source code with a screen capture showing the main screen and all dialog boxes generating during the order process. Now, the point behind that particular deliverable is the fact that I'm going to take those screen captures and compare them to the requirements for the course. So you can do the deliverable in one of two ways. I don't have a problem either way. You can have the screen captures, and you can tell me which particular criteria you're associating with. I'm going to need that because otherwise you're going to give me a capture, and I'm going to try to find which criteria. Due to the fact that I am human, there might be mistakes made as to trying to figure out which screenshot goes with randomly, which criteria, and things along those lines. You can do it that way. It's not a problem. Or if you choose to fulfill the deliverable as, here's all my code, I want to take a video of what I've been doing, pull up the requirement criteria, and then walk through your final project telling me, here's a screen that fulfills this criteria. Here's a screen that fulfills this criteria. Either one of those will count as a deliverable as long as I have the code in addition to whichever method you use. So if you want to continue to use the videos, perfectly acceptable. Here's my video. Here's a criteria. This is how I'm going to fulfill each criteria. I'm going to show you. Really no different than what we've been doing. Or here's my code that I'm turning in. Both sections have to have the code. Here's my code that I'm turning in. Here's my document with all the screen captures and comments showing you how I fulfilled the criteria in there. Either way you want to go. But I just wanted to be perfectly clear that those are ways. It's a special note. Remember, you are the developer. You can use all the Java tools presented as text or on the internet. Develop your program to your satisfaction under the minimum requirements listed above. You're allowed to seek help only from your fellow class developers. I encourage sharing of code, ideas, and problem success, but not completed projects. Do not procrastinate. And that's what I've been after the entire time. Make sure you start early. By virtue of you having the discussion last week that talked about how you're kind of going to break it up and what are the processes involved and things along those lines, you are directly doing that. You are discussing, how am I going to do this? What is the intricacies involved and things along those lines. So whatever the case may be, I hope that helps you kind of make the decisions. And your discussion this week is kind of weird because normally the discussion is, here's my initial discussion, here's my support for my discussion, and here's the responses that are supported in APA style from citations from the internet. So if you do not have any problems, you can tell me what sites you use to kind of help. So if you use Stack Overflow, write the APA citation saying, here's Stack Overflow, this is what I used. And if you use the second one, obviously for your main statement, you're going to have to use the second one. If you respond to students that have problems, then you would say, okay, here's how you solve that problem. Here's a website that could help you with that problem. So it's more like, for this particular week, either you're going to have problems and you're going to tell me what those problems are and what you did to try to figure out what those problems are and cite those, or you're not going to have any problems and you're going to talk about where you referenced to not have those problems. And then if you talk to students who didn't have any problems. Excuse me. And if you talk to students who did have problems, you tell them here's a way to help you, and here's some websites that I can assist. And then if no one has any problems, which would be awesome, but I don't foresee that happening, you could always pick a individual and say, here's some other sites that I use beyond the ones that you've used, and here's the citation. That's how you can participate in the discussion this week. So either one of those kind of gives you a way to, because I've had students before saying, well, I couldn't participate in the discussion because no one had any problems. Well, based off the way that the discussion is, and I'll talk more about the discussion, it's not necessarily wrong. So I am trying to change it just a little bit to kind of help you out. So if you have any questions, feel free. Also, the Java DB, I did end up putting that database up there. If you run into problems and need the extension into next week, well, I guess I'm making this on a Friday, so technically it would be if you need an extension. Yeah, I guess if you would need it into week of Unit 6, that's fine. Let me know. But I can't extend the Unit 6 stuff because the class closes and then I have to get my final grades in and things along those lines. Otherwise, it's been a really good class. I've really enjoyed what's been going on. Keep up the good work, and I hope to hear from you soon.